So this chapter actually picks up with Kikuro getting a text from Mina, letting her know that Kafka's execution's actually been put on hold. Because as we found out in the last chapter, director Shinomiya actually wants to use Kafka as kind of like a living weapon to fight off against the kaiju with, even though all the rest of the upper brass of the defense force are completely against the idea. So going forward, I guess pretty much Kafka's main objective and main goal is going to be convincing them that he's actually an ally and not a threat. And obviously Kikuru's happy to hear this. I mean, the whole reason why she went to the headquarters in the first place was to kind of convince her dad not to kill Kafka. But then she remembers back to the fight between him and her dad, and she realizes that she's going to have to get a lot stronger if she wants to be able to stop Kafka in the future in case he ever loses control of his kaiju side again. And I'm pretty sure when she talks about stopping him in this chapter, it's completely different from how she felt when she originally found out he was a kaiju, because I think the two of them have kind of grown close enough, they're close enough as friends, that she wouldn't actually want to put him down anymore. More likely, she would actually just want to, like, stop him by restraining him or basically capturing him, at least long enough for him to be able to regain control of his body. But anyway, this is when we end up finding out that Kikuru's actually been transferred temporarily to the first division. Because if you remember from, I want to say it was chapter either 35 or 36, we ended up finding out that until the third division's base is completely restored, all of the new recruits are being reassigned to different divisions. And I guess this is going to be kind of like their training arc, which Ichikawa and the rest would definitely benefit from, because even though the recruits have shown some steady growth since when they first became officers, they're still nowhere near strong enough to take on Kaiju number 9 or any of the other like Dai Kaiju that they're currently running into. So they're really going to have to get some major power ups if they want to stay relevant to the story. At the very least, they would have to get to the point where the four of them could really gang up together and defeat at least a Dai Kaiju without having to rely on the Vice Commander or the Commander or Kafka or anyone else. And plus, this also could lead them to possibly end up getting their own kaiju weapons, which I still believe that either Ichikawa or Kikuru are going to end up getting the weapon made from kaiju number 6. Now, speaking of Kikuru, when it comes down to it, even though her and Kafka are technically still recruits as well, they greatly outclass the others in power. So when it comes to this training arc for them, it's not going to be mostly about getting more powerful, but it's going to be kind of learning things from the more advanced and more seasoned members of the defense force. And when it comes to Kafka, I think the entirety of this training arc is just going to be about him learning to not so easily lose control over his kaiju side. Anyway, we get introduced to the First Division's Vice Commander, Eiji Hasegawa, who, this guy is like stupidly tall. I mean, seriously, he's so tall, it's to the point where in this chapter, when we see him and Kikuru standing next to each other, she only comes to about above his waist. Like, literally just above his waist, that's how tall he is. And this guy actually looks very scary. He looks like the kind of guy that you would expect to be the commander of the First Division. So going into this chapter, you kind of got this anticipation, especially since we met him in the last chapter, that the commander of the First Division has to be this very serious guy if this guy's his vice commander. And Hasegawa actually takes her to meet the First Division commander that we met in the last chapter, Narumi, who we end up finding out is actually a huge gamer, which this was actually a very funny introduction scene with him where we end up finding out that he's been like staying up all night for like at least one night, maybe even multiple nights, trying to get platinum rank in this like I guess online shooter game. And just as he gets it, the guy Hasegawa actually comes in and breaks his not PS5 but PS5 console. And we end up finding out this guy is just like a huge slob. He's like completely unorganized. And I really gotta hand it to Matsumoto because the comedy in the chapter, which is on point, or at the very least, I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I'm not sure if everyone else is, but I definitely laughed at it. Anyway, while Kikuru is trying to introduce herself, they actually get alerted to this giant kaiju showing up and they immediately go into action. And this is when we get to see the big difference between the 3rd Division and the 1st Division. Because we end up finding out that even the lowest level officer is able to output at least 40% of their suit's power. While at the 3rd Division, I believe only a few of them, or most of them, can only go up to 30%. And the only ones that really can go past that are Kikuru, the commander, and the vice commander. So that shows that there's a huge power gap between the 3rd Division and the 1st Division, which makes me wonder how big is the gap between the 3rd Division and the 2nd Division and the 2nd Division and the 1st Division now. And then, as if Matsumoto hadn't already displayed that the 1st Division is like leagues above the 3rd, we end up seeing Gen just easily, with one shot, take out the giant kaiju. And I mean, this kaiju is massive. Like, it's the size of a fucking building, and he takes it out in one shot, just jumps out the helicopter that him and Kikuru are in, stabs it with his, like, weird sword thing, pulls the trigger and it just immediately blows up in one hit. And earlier in the chapter, when Kikuro was trying to introduce herself to him, he cut her off by telling her, hey, listen, you don't have to be prim and proper, you don't have to be, so respectful or anything like that. There's only one thing that matters in the first division, and they get called out to the kaiju alert before they can actually tell her what that is. And at the very end of the chapter, he tells her the only thing that he cares about in the first division is for her to show him overwhelming power, because he won't have anyone who's weak and going to hold the first division back as a part of their team. And this is when we see Kikuro taking a little bit of offense to that, so kind of like taking on the challenge of saying, alright, do you want to see what I can do? I'm going to show you what I can do. And that's literally where the chapter ends. So yeah, I actually dug the introduction to Gen in this chapter a lot better than I did in the first one, because after seeing him in the first chapter, it was kind of cool how him in the first division showed up to back up director Shinomiya, but I really didn't have an opinion of him after reading his introduction in that chapter. But after getting him in this one, I gotta say, at the very least, I'm interested in seeing exactly how strong this guy is. I mean, like I said, he took out a giant, like, building-sized kaiju in one shot. So I'm looking forward to seeing him kind of match up against someone like kaiju number 8, not kaiju number 8, kaiju number 9, and seeing how well he faces off against him. Or at the very least, another Dai Kaiju. And also, I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how strong Ichikawa, Izumo, and all the rest of them actually become after this training arc. Because like I said, I'm expecting them to become, at the very least when it comes to the four of them teaming up to defeat Kaiju number 9, I expect them to be as strong as that. And I'm kind of hoping that this really does lead to them getting their own Kaiju weapons. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the chapter, guys. That's pretty much all there is to talk about. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about the chapter. Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Let me know for your thoughts and theories on what's going to be coming up in the future of this arc. Because remember, we still have to deal with Kaiju number 9 going to that building to take back some kind of Kaiju power. So I'm really looking forward to seeing exactly what comes of that. But yeah, like I said, that's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please drop me a like and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate that. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.